Right. So,
Sorry, Sonja. So I think Rodrigo left the stage, but it's okay. Bueno, vamos a seguir con esta siguiente sesión. Creo que ya llegó Rodrigo. A ver, dame un segundo. Ya viene Rodrigo, entonces ignórenme a mí. Ah, tal vez no. Bueno, en lo que se une Rodrigo, vamos a ver si se puede unir. Si no, vamos a seguir la siguiente sesión con Sonja Bailer, que nos acompaña desde el gran Festival Ars Electronica, festival bastante conocido en Austria, seguramente muchos de ustedes lo conocen bien. Es un referente en arte con nuevas tecnologías y pues nos va a presentar esta ponencia que se llama Compass, Navigating the Future of Museum Education. Creo que va a ser muy interesante. Y pues de nuevo invitar a todos a que si tienen alguna duda, algún comentario, lo vayan escribiendo en el chat o en las interacciones y Sonia lo va a ir contestando al final en las preguntas y respuestas. Entonces le doy la palabra a Sonia. Sonia, please go ahead.
thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. For me, it's evening because I'm in Linz in Austria at the moment. My name is Sonja, and I want to take a minute to thank Rodrigo and Tonali for this wonderful opportunity to give this talk tonight to you. It's been a huge honor for me to stay in touch with both of them and organize this talk, and I hope that we can be able to collaborate in the future a lot more and sort of shorten the distance between Austria and Mexico and create some strong ties that we both are going to benefit from. So as Tonali was saying, I work at the Ars Electronica Center, which is a museum in Linz in Upper Austria. And we call ourselves the Museum of the Future, and I will tell you now in my presentation why we do so. I'm going to share my screen with you, and please, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them, feel free to post them in the chat. We're going to have some opportunity at the end to do a Q&A where I'm going to be answering your questions. And during the presentation, I'm also going to have some questions for you. So please feel free to answer them and to start a short discussion with me. And yes, I'm very much looking forward to be talking to you shortly as soon as my presentation is working. All right. So here at my first slide, you see the building of the Ars Electronica Center, and my presentation is called Compass, Navigating the Future of Museum Education. I work in the Department of Museum Education and Content Development. And the reason why we call it Compass is we don't want to make a prediction of the future as such, because nobody has a crystal ball. Nobody knows what's going to happen in the future. But what we do want to show our visitors and the attendees of the festival is a possibility of how the future could look like. And that is also one of the main core principles of the Ars Electronica spirit, so I may say. The Ars Electronica Center is, as I mentioned, a museum that was founded in 1996, resulting from the International Festival of Media, Art and Technology, Ars Electronica Festival that was founded 40 years ago. And they sort of wanted to create a space where all the projects that were handed in for the festival could be visited and could be on display all year and could then be shown to the public and invite to discussions and to create a dialogue between the visitors, but also between the artists and the exhibit itself. The Ars Electronica itself is a very big company. We've got about 200 employees working in all sorts of different departments. I'm not going to talk throughout all that boring stuff with you, don't worry. I'm just going to give you some key facts for you to understand where I'm coming from and what the background of this presentation is. So basically, Ars Electronica, the name comes from Latin, which means art, electronic art. And we've got three core topics that sort of accompany all the work that we do. One is art, one is society, and one is technology. And those three are connected to each other and they are interacting with each other. So we want to ask, how does art impact our society? How does society impact art? And how does art impact technology and vice versa? And how are both art and technology shaping our society, and how is our society shaping both? So those are always the core questions of all the programs, all the sessions, all the performances, and all the exhibits that we do. And I'm basically gonna talk you through some facts, some ideas that we share with our visitors and in museum education, why we think that some of our methods could be the future of museum education. As I said, we only suggest it. And what's also important to mention is that we have a very neutral vision of technology. We're not against it, and we're also not supporting it. We just see technology as a means of achieving something and achieving a certain goal. And depending on what goal that might be, if it's benefiting society, then yes, technology is good. If it's harming society, then of course technology is bad. So we have a very neutral approach to it. And it's also important to us that we give that neutral, open space to our visitors where they can discuss about technological approaches, and where we give them a neutral space and room for discussion and for asking questions, which will lead us to the approaches of how we see museum education. For us, museum education is all about asking questions. It's about creating a dialogue with our visitors and with our audience. It's about engaging our audience. So it's not about just doing a guided tour, talking about boring historical facts that everyone's going to forget after that tour without engaging the audience. No, it's not about that. What we want to do is approach the audience, pick them up where they come from, pick up on their backgrounds, and basically build on that by asking questions, creating a dialogue, creating a space where we can have a conversation, a constructive conversation, and where we can also engage them to participate and to be interactive. And most of our exhibits are actually inviting to interactivity, to try out, to experiment. And that's really what we want to do. And we think, I mean, we've all been going through the the problems and all the issues that come up with the pandemic. I mean, it's all about meeting digitally. It's about trying to overcome the social distancing that we are facing right now by using technology and by socializing on different ways when we can't actually socialize physically. And that's when we come up with the idea of creating hybrid models of museum education. Hybrid as in digital experiences as well as experiences on site and in person. So we've got different sessions, different workshops, different offers for all sorts of audiences and ages. We've got schools programs, we've got programs for teachers to train, for teacher training, for companies who want to do team building exercises and who want to broaden their horizons, basically. And most of those programs are actually being made to hold and deliver on site and in person. So last year during the pandemic, we started to redevelop and refurbish our offer on content that we have from the museum and try to digitize it and make it digital and accessible for everyone. So we believe that that approach, by combining the digital experience and the on-site experience, that could be the future of museum education. Is it though? We don't know. But for us right now, when we look back, we have hybrid models being booked very successfully for over a year now. And last year, that was all a big experiment. Whether that's going to work or not, we did a trial and error and we succeeded, thank God. And also, yeah, we do believe that that would be a possible approach on how education, museum education, could work in the future. Because even if you digitalize a museum completely, you put all the pictures online, you put all the exhibits online, nobody would want to come back and visit a museum. But that's not what the experience is about. You can Google a famous picture. You don't actually have to go to a museum to see it. But that's not the point. The point is actually the experience. It's the on-site experience. It's the atmosphere. It's going there. It's actually interacting physically with the exhibit that makes a museum visit so special. So as much as we try to recreate a digital visit online, it's not the same thing as a visit in person. But still, for the rest of my presentation, I want to give you a virtual tour through our museum and through our main topics that we cover, so that you can experience that sort of digital approach that we have. And hopefully, once the pandemic is over, once everything has calmed down, hopefully you will be able to visit us in person and complete the Ars Electronica experience, fully. Right. So I will be showing you a glimpse of our exhibitions and of our work at the Ars Electronica Center. We've got 5 main permanent exhibitions under the theme or the topic of Compass, Navigating the Future. We've got Global Shift, which is about climate change and how humans have been changing the climate and our planet for over centuries, and how that has an impact on our life and on our planet, and how could technology basically be a benefit on our fight against climate change. Then we've got the Kids Research Lab, which is basically a kids space where all the topics that are covered in the museum are sort of made in a child-friendly way, so that they can explore by themselves, they can ask their own questions and interact with the exhibits and with the topics that we present to the adults, but in a child-friendly way. And we've got the Ars Electronica labs, which are sort of an experiment and laboratory space, covering all sorts of topics. We've got an actual biology lab where muscle cells are being reproduced. We've got a material lab, which explores new materials of the future. We've got the second body lab, which explores the possibility of bioenhancement and on how you can enhance your body with technology. And we've got the Citizen Lab, where it's all about citizen participation and citizen science. we've got the exhibition AI Meets Music. One of our big topics, of course, is artificial intelligence. And we've got a whole exhibition on how AI and music come together. Where did that start? What does that mean? And our core exhibition really is understanding AI, when we're all asking questions about what is artificial intelligence? What does that mean? What does it entitle? How does that shape our society? And yeah, so I'm gonna walk you through the museum, like very authentically, by entering the building with you guys via video. Right, so we are now inside the Ars Electronica foyer, and I'm only going to show you a couple of highlights that I thought might be interesting for you from our museum. So as I was saying before, our core exhibition is understanding AI. So we want to understand, or we want to make people understand, what artificial intelligence is. And as I said before, we always try to create a dialogue, to ask questions and to engage the audience. So I want to start the presentation of this exhibition by asking you a question, which is, what are your thoughts on artificial intelligence? How do you see that? If you may want to write an answer in the chat, that would be good. You're very welcome to participate. Attractive but unknown, yes. I can fully understand that. Very powerful tool. That is very true. Thank you for your answers. Inspiring environment. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. Strangeness. Yes. There's not a lot that we know about artificial intelligence. I think it can be kind of terrific. Yes, it can be frightening. I hear from a lot of people that find it frightening. I find it frightening. Fair enough. Could be combined with installations also. Yes, absolutely. I'm going to show you a very cool installation in a minute. So, right. So you're going to see, when I show you what artificial intelligence entitles, you will see that artificial intelligence is actually not that intelligent as it sounds. It's called artificial intelligence because it's inspired by our human brains, with neural networks, with neurons and synapses and nerves. That's why it's called artificial intelligence, because basically a human being is training a machine to do certain things. The humans have to write the code, they have to write the algorithms, and the artificial intelligence ideally has to follow those orders and ideally has to follow those rules that the algorithms and the codes give them. There are 4 types of artificial intelligence. In our exhibition, we only cover 2 of them. One is generative AI, which means the artificial intelligence generates new content by using pre-existing content like music files, pictures, text documents, speech recordings, you name it, it can use it and create new content out of that I'm going to explain that to you later. And another one is classifying AI. That's the one that's more common or that we know more, which is AI that's been trained with data, and that data allows the AI to classify and recognize things by certain features. So for example, if you think of face detection, that's classifying AI. So it can, by being trained with thousands, hundreds of thousands of pictures and portraits, the AI can basically recognize people by certain features. That's the more common thing that we all know. And one of our coolest exhibits is this interactive table. I'm only going to show you a little bit. It's called a convolutional neural network table. A convolutional neural network is basically a brain network, a neural network. And you've got a camera here on the table that is taking an image of an object. Those objects are the ones that the artificial intelligence is trained with. So any other objects that you put in front of the camera, the artificial intelligence is not going to detect them. And this is a good example of a classifying artificial intelligence. So you've got those screens in the background, and those screens take different layers of that image. So it scans, the artificial intelligence scans through hundreds of pictures. Each one of them has a different layer of learning, and that's how artificial intelligence is being trained. And artificial intelligence has a lot to do with probability. So for example, taking this picture of the orange is very, very likely, that this is an orange. It was over 90%. Or this coffee mug, for example, is very, very likely, roughly 70%, that this is being recognized as a mug. And that's true. So this list is a list of objects that the artificial intelligence has been trained with and can be detected. Right, we'll skip to the next exhibition, which is AI Meets Music. And I'm going to start the next exhibition with a question again for you, which is, based on what we know or what you guys know about artificial intelligence, do you think that machines can be creative? Yes. Okay. Maybe not creative, but used in creative ways. Sure. Yes, I agree. No, only its users. Yes, 100% agree. The human is a machine, a biomachine. Yes, absolutely. It depends on what creative means. Sure, of course. Absolutely agree. It's really difficult to define the word or the term creativity. Maybe not creative, but used in creative ways. Twice. Yes, absolutely agree on that, 100%. Thank you very much for your answers so far. I don't think, because until now they don't have conscious, they learn through previous music. Yes, absolutely. 100% agree with you. Thank you so much. All right. So basically the core question of this exhibition is whether machines can be creative, what is possible with AI and musical instruments. And it's about technology, but also craft. It's about machine learning, which is what I was talking about with the layers and scanning through detecting the data. And it's also about a dialogue between analog and digital music. So we've got all sorts of exhibits that have to do with computers or with machines in a very distant way. So for example, this video that I'm going to show you is a flute organ from the 18th century. What does that have to do with artificial intelligence? Well, actually nothing at first glance. So we can see how my colleague is winding up the flute organ, and we will hear it play in a minute. Right. I hope you all can can hear this. So basically, you'll see here a cylinder. I mean, you guys are artists and musicians, you know that better than I do. So you've got the cylinder with the metal thing sticking out, and basically the instrument detects where the metal things are sticked in and which note to play. So that isn't artificial intelligence as such, but it's some sort of coding in a way, because you have a code, you have an algorithm which is on that cylinder, and by detecting the code, a melody or a song is played. So you could argue that that is some sort of computational, some sort of music machine, some sort of coding and programming as such. I'm not going to play the whole thing. By the way, all the videos that I'm showing you can find on our YouTube channel if you want to watch them. If you want to watch them completely. So what I do have here is a really beautiful example of generative AI in music. So we've got a piano, which is on display in the exhibition. And what you can hear is this piano is manipulated by an AI. It's called MuseNet, or I apologize, called Magenta. And basically, Magenta was trained with more than 100 hours of professional pianists playing at a piano competition in Washington in the US. And that AI was trained to play different styles, play in different times and paces, and in different volumes. And what we asked this piano to do was to play Mozart in the style of Chopin. And often when I do a tour, the crowd won't clap. And I ask, well, why won't you clap? Well, because nobody was playing it. It was just a machine. Like, there's no one playing it. And I think that makes total sense, because we connect music to something emotional, something so personal. There's a person playing music and pouring out all his or her emotions into the instrument. And really, we can feel that when we're watching a concert and attending a performance, when actually this is just a machine recreating music that a human being programmed. So it is a bit controversial, and it is a very interesting topic. And at the end of our tour, I want to show you our immersive media room, which is the Deep Space 8K. I'm only going to show you a very short video because we're very short on time, as I can see. And basically, it's a room with 8K resolution. So we've got, it's a 9 by 16 meters screen or projection space. And you can walk into the room. There's projection space at the wall and also on the floor, as you will see. And it gives you a fully immersive experience. You can watch 3D projections. You can, we use it for 3D projections, presentations, press conferences, concerts, performances, pretty much for everything. And Also, a lot of students and collaborations make projects in that resolution so that they can be presented in 8K in this room. So we've got a lot of collaborations going on. So if one of you is interested in creating some immersive experience in the deep space, please go ahead and drop us an email. We'll be very happy to, we'll be very happy to collaborate with you, always. Right. So yeah, as you can see here on the pictures, we don't just show modern media art, but also we give it is a good chance to zoom into historic pictures and historic images, because you can see with that resolution, you can zoom into all sorts of details. It's a really unique experience. And the good thing is you don't have to come that far to Linz to actually experience the deep space, because we created 2 years ago a little brother of the deep space, 8K, in the Science Museum in Coalican in Sinaloa. It's called the Cubo Negro. So you can come and actually visit the deep space. It was made by our team from Ars Electronica Solutions. So it's not that far, but of course you're more than welcome to visit us, to visit the festival next year. It's always in September, and you're more than welcome to drop us an email, get in touch with us, ask us all questions, come up with ideas for collaborations. We're very, very looking forward to build strong ties internationally, and we want to build strong connections and give you the opportunity also to exhibit and put your projects on display in the Ars Electronica Center in Austria. So our digital tour through the museum has come to an end. Thank you so much for listening, for participating, for answering the questions. And now I think we've got some time for questions. So please go ahead. Thank you very much. That's a very good question. So how does Ars Electronica actually understand what you said about not being pro or against technology? We have so the neutrality towards technology is a company-wide opinion. It's something that we live. It's something that we try to incorporate in all aspects of our museum and on how we interact with our audiences and with the public. When we choose projects, exhibitions, etc., it's difficult to accomplish that. How do you achieve that? Well, first of all, before someone exhibits a project in the museum, we get into conversation with them. We ask, what is your project about? How do you envision technology? How do you envision art? How does your project or the idea for a project sort of fit into our core topics that we have, art, society, and technology? We've also got very, very critical projects towards technology, because that is important. It's also important to see both sides, as I said. If technology benefits society, wonderful. Then we want to display that. We want to tell people, look, technology can have good sides, absolutely. But also, if there are critical and not so positive aspects of technology, we want to show that too. We want to show people, look, artificial intelligence, for example, can be very biased, because it can be very racist. Because if someone creates an artificial intelligence and only trains that artificial intelligence with, let's say, portraits of Caucasian white people, then it's not going to detect any other people from different ethnicities. That's problematic. That's very problematic. It's very biased and can be very racist. Or, for example, when an artificial intelligence can only detect men but not women properly, that's very problematic. So of course we want to show that as well and show different aspects, but us as a company try to find a balance between both, like not being too positive but also not being too negative. And also we don't want to give people an opinion. We want people to have time to ask questions and to form their own opinion based on what we show in the museum. That's basically what we try to do as much as we can. Have you got any further questions? Well, every work of art has its own aura, as philosopher Walter Benjamin said, is tied to the here and now. And it's very remarkable, the point you said about how technology virtuality is not here to replace the presence in the museum, but makes it accessible. Thank you very much. Yes, so as I said, what I presented to you today is only a glimpse of the whole experience. And of course, it's easier for me to speak to you, an adult audience, about technology and about virtuality on a digital basis in a digital conference in this setting. And what can a museum like this offer for early education related to arts? That's a very good question. We developed a session for primary schools, a digital session for primary schools, because we said that makes more sense. That's an age where you can interact with technology more, probably, or where you have a stronger tie to your teacher who can interact and be sort of like a contact person between us and the school group. Because on early ages, we thought it might not make sense to actually develop a session, a digital experience for them, because it's going to be more like a history or like storytelling. It's just very difficult. But we started one for primary schools, and to be honest, the primary school session is actually the most popular session we ever developed digitally. We had school bookings every week. We had so many bookings. We had no idea how to accommodate them with our staff. So that was the most popular one. And we tried to make them as interactive and as accessible as possible. And we tried to lower the language and the explanations and the concepts as much as we could, so that we could pick up kids from all backgrounds and with all levels of knowledge to have a wonderful experience. Where can we find more info about you? Is that about the institution? On our website, of course, ars.electronica.art. You can find all sorts of updates. Where can we find for papers about your research? Well, we don't, in my department, we don't do research as such. The experience that I'm telling you is from our personal experience that we have with interactions and school sessions from everyday life at work. We don't publish papers as such, but our future lab, which is where all the key researchers and artists are working, they publish papers regularly. So if you go on their website, through our general website to the Future Lab, you will be able to see what they are researching on. Where can we find further information about you and Deep Space 8K? So regarding the Deep Space, if you want to drop me an email, I can. Rodrigo has my email, Tonali has my email. So if you want to contact me directly, please get in touch with them. I'm more than happy to connect you with our Deep Space program manager, who will be able to talk you through what the requirements are to be able to present your works at the Deep Space 8K if you want. So I can be your contact person for that. And yeah, just ask Rodrigo for my contact.
Sure. There's thanks, Sonia. There's one more question. Can you share it, Tonali, please?
Have you got projects related to other arts like literature or theater? How different or hard is it working with different arts and their particularities? We don't have projects related to literature. In terms of theater, we used to have a collaboration with the Theater for Young People, and but not anymore due to the pandemic. And so our relationship with other arts is actually very strong. We've got strong ties with music, with art, like as in pictures, as in media art, photography, video art, sound art. So we've got very strong ties with them, or with that types of art, but actually not with literature or theater. So if you have any ideas or any suggestions, please get in touch with us. How different or hard is it working with different arts and their particularities? It's a very good question, because there is actually no reason why we wouldn't interact with other arts other than we don't have those projects. It's we try to be as diverse as we can, and we welcome every approach that there is possible. So yeah, as I said, the only reason why we don't have that at the moment is just because we don't have anything from that on display. And if you want to share some ideas and collaborate, please feel free to do so. We're very happy to do that.
Thanks very much, Sonja. I just wanted to say, besides thanking you for your time and effort, we've been in communication for a few months already. And the idea is to expand the options that through SEMAS in Morelia, Mexican and Latin American artists can do with, ideally with Ars Electronica in the future. So it's been a great first approach. I really, really thank you that you've been in touch with us for such a long time, and to be so welcoming. So we're planning activities in the future, also online, hopefully in person in the future as well. And well, thanks very much. Just I'll do a brief announcement in Spanish. Para todos los que se están conectando, hay bastantes personas que nos han escrito por acá y que son que no estuvieron en la mañana. Les comento que ahora que terminemos se va a quedar aquí en el lobby, se pueden mover entre las mesas. Tenemos las sesiones de networking que son desde ahorita hasta las 5:30, y a las 5:30 en punto les llegará el aviso para comenzar con la siguiente actividad. Así que aprovechen. Sonia sí que puede seguir el español, así que sabe lo que estoy diciendo. So, Sonia, if you have a few minutes and you're able to just stay outside the stage, whatever, you can move around the tables and everything for comments or whatever. And I know it's very late in Austria, so I really, really thank you for the effort. And whenever you're too tired, you are, of course, free to go. And we'll keep in touch for that. Así que les agradezco muchísimo. Aprovechen ahora si Sonia se queda unos minutos por ahí. Y también todos los que no estuvieron con nosotros en la mañana, pero están ahora, pues la bienvenida a que estén en las mesas, se pueden mover libremente y estén con nosotros hasta las 5:30 en punto, que comenzaremos con la siguiente presentación. Tenemos un par de presentaciones más esta tarde. Muchísimas gracias a todos. Thanks very much, Sonia. It's been great.
Thank you so much for everything, Rodrigo. It's been a great pleasure and a great honor to collaborate with you, and I'm looking forward to building our stronger ties in the future. Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.